Okay, it's 2 o'clock. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to PeakPad episode 4 of 12 weeks peak performance. Before we start, let's have a moment of silence, please, to honor our beloved doctors representing our frontliners who lost their lives in saving the lives of others. Thank you so much. Good afternoon once again. In Ignite, our vision of wellness is peak wholeness. When we ignite people, teams, or organizations, we nurture the capacity of each human being to continually connect with our gifts and our pains. And then we nurture our capacity to channel our lives into relentless innovation and impact. Concrete ways we can renew the world and make it a better place for the people around us. Conversely, it does not matter how healthy, well, happy, or sad a person is. If we are not channeling our gifts and our pains to continually make and remake a better world, we are not peak whole. So, how do we journey on this road to peak wholeness? That's what PeakPad is for. Come, join us on this road to peak wholeness. In Ignite, everything starts with GPS: genius, purpose, and service, or simply GPS. If we know our GPS, then we have our own deeply personal navigation system for life. GPS will continually lead us where we need to go, who we are called to be, for whom. It doesn't matter what success we achieve in life. Our path to joy and meaning goes through GPS, but only if we pay attention. Waze cannot help if we're not listening. Same with GPS. Far from an exact science, GPS is a lifelong triangulation, lifelong listening. This is the deeply personal exercise of discernment, entering again and again into life's most important conversations. Some call it God or praying to God. Regardless, if you are human, it does not matter what you call God, or even that you do or do not believe in God. Still and above all, you will recognize and cherish life's most important conversations. They are humanity's questions, our unquenchable quest for answers, for truth, for joy, and meaning. Every day, we are revealed new data points and coordinates, new pieces of our own puzzle, new threads on the tapestry of I, new stars on the constellation of who am I? Why am I here? What was I born to do? In our weekly peak pads, we choose one of these questions, and here we engage in life's most important conversation with our guests, with each other. Ready? Let us begin. Today's focal is about enduring generosity. Last week, we talked about beyond genius. We were able to deep dive into the definition of genius beyond skills and strengths by allowing our audience to have a taste of some process of discernment by answering some prompts and then sharing it with the rest of us. And today, episode 4 of our journey to wholeness, we will be doing it differently. We will be having a free flowing conversation on how we can keep on sharing the best of ourselves over and over, constantly and consistently to, to our teams and the slice of humanity that we are drawn to serve. With that, please allow me to introduce to you our guests. First of all, of course, our mainstay, Andre Yap, our CEO and founder of Ignite House uh, Take it away, Andre. Say hi, please.
Hello, good afternoon to everyone. Glad to be here again.
Okay. And of course, the next one is Dandy Alandi, our Vox Pop. What is Vox Pop? Dandy, tell us what your role is in this
Yeah.
session.
Hello, welcome from Martina. But anyway, my role here as Vox Pop is I want to serve as literally, quite literally, the voice of the people, because as we know, conversations around GPS, Genius Purpose Service, and are not really easy to grasp concepts or ideas. For some people, it might be harder to understand than others. So, what I want to do right now is really break this down and make this more easily understandable, reachable for people. Because everyone, I believe that everyone really can benefit from knowing, understanding, and living their GPS.
All right. Thank you, Dandy. And of course, our special guest. You know, when the stars align, just everything just fall into place. No, this wasn't planned, but she has to be here. That's why I have my coffee cup here. It's Abu Dhabi. Because she's a dear friend that I met in Abu Dhabi, my former colleague. She's a leadership and development specialist in the aviation industry. She's a cabin manager as well. She's a travel blogger, and she's joining us all the way from Bangalore. Um, I'd like to call on my dear friend, Aina Mehta. Aina.
Hi everyone, Aina here. Great to be with all of you guys. I think again, as Joe rightly said, I think sometimes stars just align, and we're here to support each other, learn from each other, and kind of make each other think a little bit differently, question more, think more, understand more, and serve more. I think the beautiful topic for today as it is, and we'll get the conversation flowing. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, I just want to make sure that Aina is being seen because I cannot see her right now. Are we good? She has a video.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Good. Aina, before we jump into the questions, into the discussion, I just want to ask you because I sent you some preamble last night, right? And I know you were thinking about it. Um, I want to ask you in terms of your own concept of wellness and your definition of being whole. What are the things that you're really doing right now for you to be whole or to be well? If I don't know if you're already in that world of being whole the way we define it here in Ignite.
Uh, I am like you, Joe. I very strongly believe that it's an ongoing, lifelong process. We keep refining it and keep getting rid of some of the belief systems or our habits, for that matter. Uh, like you know, we've known each other for a long time. I practice a few things which I'd like to share with all of you that helps me be whole on a lot of levels, be it intellectual level or mindfulness is a practice that helps me be a little bit more calm, serving each other, serving ourselves first, serving our own little communities in our own neighborhoods, our own families to start with, and the bigger world that we live in, our workplace, or even our country, and humanity. You know, that I work for an international airline with 150 nationalities. To me, we're all the same. Our basic needs are the same. Our basic want to be loved or to be appreciated are pretty much the same. So to start with, I'll say, you know, after having my morning cup of tea, I'm more of a tea person. I like to have my Indian style of tea, but yeah, this is my cup of coffee right now. I start my day with a 10-15 minutes session of mindfulness. I sometimes use an app, but sometimes I just meditate by myself. That gets me going pretty much for the whole day. That calms my mind. It helps me focus, and above all, it shares with me or reminds me more of the shared human condition that we all are in. So that's how I kind of start my day. I lately have moved a lot toward Ayurveda. It's the ancient Indian medical
Yep.
science, which helps you live a more meaningful, more healthy life. So, it starts with, say, have a glass of warm water on an empty stomach. It includes a lot of these herbs that people can take. So I do that throughout the day, be it a cup of mint tea or fennel tea for that matter. So a lot of these habits that I end up doing throughout the day, more of healthy eating, a lot of fruits and vegetables in my diet throughout the day. So those are things, and something that I share with my family here too, and something personal, if I can share a little bit. I'm here supporting my sister and her family too. She is going through a tough time physically, so supporting her. She's going through breast cancer, so supporting her. She has 2 little ones, so it's about supporting your immediate family, and it's also about your learning. The interactions that one has with people around you helps you understand yourself a little bit better. So trying to learn something new at the same time in between, if I can grab half an hour or an hour here and there. I am trying to try my hand at machine learning a little bit, so I'm trying to learn a bit of coding. So I started learning Python language, something to push my intellectual levels too. And I also practice a little bit of yoga like you, Joe. So a good at least 10 to 15 minutes of pranayama. Those are these breathing exercises that helps you increase your lung capacity, gets your nostrils and everything cleared up. And then another 10, 15 minutes of gentle yoga. So my sister and I do another half an hour of yoga a day. So just a few things there.
There's a few things compared to, I think, to an ordinary person. That's a lot. There's really a lot. But I appreciate you sharing with us all these things, because it was a combination as well of you taking care of yourself, but at the same time, it allows you to be mindful of the other things beyond just taking care of your health, your mind, your body, right? It's going beyond in terms of being able to think of what you can do for others as well. But we're going to dive more into that later on. So to get us started, we will be defining enduring generosity, our topic for today, by using these questions. May I ask Karen to please flash it on the screen? To whom can I give? To whom can I give deeply? To whom am I most compelled to give? Whose needs I can touch and keep touching? Yesterday, today, tomorrow, and for many tomorrows after. Sustainability is a good question. I don't want to be a flash in the pan giver. Here, today, gone tomorrow. My gifts are better than that. So our conversation will be going around these questions. And anybody can just jump in to start this off. Maybe Dandy, you have any thoughts about this question?
In the first place, I think it is a wonderful question to reflect on, especially during these days wherein we really have a lot of time to ourselves to think about how we can give, or what of ourselves can we give to the world now that there's a lot of need out there. But a lot of people might be asking, is this question even relevant during these days when all of us are facing different challenges of our own? All of us are scrambling just to survive. For a lot of us, our concept of giving might be relegated to as simple as the physical things. So I think before we really jump into asking the question, I just want to ask the panel, do you think this question is actually relevant to ask ourselves in the first place during this time of pandemic? Andre, maybe you can answer that.
Andre.
All right. Well, if I were to be fully honest, the only way I can answer this is by revealing that I was the one who penned this question. So, of course, two things.
So you penned the question, but why do you think it's relevant for people to be asking this question during this time?
Well, I was going to say, first I penned this question, and in fact, to your point, I penned this question precisely for these times. The flash in the pan giver. The good news is in this time of crisis, I personally seen, I'm sure, as I'm sure each of us has seen in our own way, a lot of people are giving. There's a lot of volunteerism, a lot of I'm going to produce this, I'm going to produce that, I'm going to volunteer for to support the doctors, I'm going to volunteer. I mean, there's a lot of creative ways, parents getting their kids to write cards, um, volunteers producing food packs, all the way to businesses repurposing their assembly lines so that they can produce various types of medical equipment, from masks to PPEs, the full gamut of PPEs, all the way to ventilators. No? So there's a lot of giving, and that's the good news. I think the bad news is when all of this is done, do we keep on giving? Do we keep on making that discernment within ourselves of what is it in me that I can keep giving? So I do think it's a pertinent question. I personally believe that all of life should be a quest to give, and a very deeply personal quest to figure out, therefore, who do I give to? Who am I constantly being called to give to? What are their things? And what are my gifts that I can give to these things and to these people? Because if you notice, that's a triangulation, no? What can I give? To whom can I give it? Or what things? I think this question started with, to whom can I give? And how can I keep touching them? The notion of touch, I wrote that in because if you touch somebody, they either feel it, you must feel it. Otherwise, you're not touching them. I think that's the way I meant the word touch. So who do we need to touch and keep touching? Because at least in my life, it has been a constant. It's called a constant, not that it's fixed, but that I'm sorry. There's a distracting ambient noise. Maybe if you ask people to just mute their mics, please. Yes, that's better. That's better. Where was that? So in my life, there has been a constant evolution around the same people, which, for example, if you reflect on what our team has done in this pandemic, I happen to think we have been nothing short of exemplary, all modesty aside, in the way we have responded and continued to respond in giving the very best of ourselves. And if you notice, from the get-go, it was very clear who we needed to serve. And that is a very personal segment of the population, or as I call it, slice of humanity, that has been very personal to me, that I have grown in my, honestly, the word I should use is in my love affair with these people. When you love somebody, you grow in the way that you are able to give more and more of yourself, of the very best of yourself, and sometimes also not so good in yourself. But that is what love is. And I think I have grown through the years in my love, in my understanding, in my dedication, in my commitment to these people. And it's almost like every day I wake up and I ask myself, well, how can I touch these people? How can I make myself known to these people? Not in a self-serving way, as in, hey, I'm here. It's more of, what do they need? And it keeps me alive to understand, what do they need and what can I give? Because I always figure, and it always ends up being the case, that I am able to give something, and in giving them something, and in continuously digging up their needs. I go deeper into my ability to actually give, which means I get deeper about. So at this point, I should probably reveal who this person is that I feel like I should be giving to, and these are the leaders. Um, Later on, we can refine that, but I've always felt a resonance to, a connection to um, business leaders, which I define as people um, who manage a lot of other people and therefore have the opportunity to bring a lot of other people up towards greater and greater versions of themselves. I mean, I think this is the aspect of leadership that I am most in love with. So I'm sorry for that long answer. I don't know to what extent that clarified things or that just popped up more questions. Dandy?
That's great. And I want to go to Aina. Do you agree with Andre's viewpoint about this? That in this time where people are being generous, giving to charity, writing checks, donating PPEs, do you think it is a pertinent question to ask ourselves what more of ourselves can we give along the line, moving forward post-pandemic? What can we continue to give to others? Aina.
So I agree, Andre. Great thoughts, and thank you for adding all of that, because that got me thinking quite a bit more deeply. So thank you for that. I agree. I completely agree. But I would also like to add a few more things from psychology perspective. That in general, we human beings are kind of selfish people. We do a lot of things because, as Andrew was saying, he isn't doing things because he wants to be out there and wants people to know about him. But in general, human beings are selfish. They would do things for themselves first, and then they would do it for others. We also, from again social psychology perspective, is we suffer from a short-term memory that if something's going on for too long, we kind of tend to move on to other things, and we tend to forget what happened in the past. So to get us thinking on a continuum about how can we be more generous, I think it starts with yourself, looking after yourself, your physical health, your mental health. It starts with that, and then your immediate surrounding too. How are you helping people around you to be more healthier, again, on all levels? And then contributing from a society, the world perspective. How am I contributing? And if I can share with you all something right here in this house, I live with a few software engineers. They're actually designing automated ventilators here right now. So contributing on a level that it's just not us. If these ventilators are going to increase lifespans of people who are suffering from this virus, how can we contribute more on that level? Yeah. And also, I think we're all appreciating domestic help that we get every day in our houses. We're blessed to have so much of help around us, supporting them too at the same time. Our immediate support systems are actually helping us, innovate more, helping us to, think of these great ideas. But if we don't have that time because of the help that we have every day, I think being a bit more appreciative, that will help us too, and going on non-stop, because it could be contributing today just by listening to somebody's feeling down. Like in my work environment, there are days where I have team members of mine, again from different parts of the world. They have their own concerns. Sometimes just hearing them out, what did they go through? And I have a team of very young people, 21, 25-year-old ones in my team. And a lot of time what I get from them is a lot of them are suffering from depression, say being quarantined for 14 days all by yourself. What are they going through mentally? So we can start thinking on all those levels. Dandy?
All right. So I think I've established that now more than ever, we should be asking this question of who we can help. Karen, can we flash this question again for the sake of our viewers to be reminded of this question? Because um, from this point on, let us try to answer this question ourselves. Um, there you go. Maybe to whom can I give? To whom can I give deeply? To whom am I most compelled to give? Whose needs I can touch and keep touching yesterday, today, tomorrow, and for many tomorrows after. These questions have so many layers that it would be great to hear stories from each and every one of us about who they're drawn to serve. Maybe we can start with Joanna. What's your take on this question? How did you answer this question? Joanna?
Yep, sorry,
There
I
you
was
go.
on mute. Okay, I've been answering these questions all my life in Ignite, right? And I've never changed actually in terms of who they are. It's always the Filipino OFWs. But at the same time, what's going on inside my head right now is that based on what Andre said, we're part of his team, right, Andre? So we're actually serving leaders. How can I now reconcile the fact that I am drawn to serve a different group of people, like the Filipino OFWs, for instance, and at the same time, I am being drawn to serve a mission that is also close to my heart, but is not my number one pain to serve, pain to heal. So before we started the session, I was like thinking about that and how can we reconcile these in terms of the actions that we're doing, the little things that we do each day in terms of directing our time, effort, resources, gifts to the people that we are drawn to serve, in terms of what you're doing each day, in terms of your job, in terms of the mission that you're doing in an organization. Perhaps maybe it's not your job, maybe you're part of a community or a foundation, for instance. So right now, I'm just trying to do like parang ano, it's like a bit of like dole out in a way, that because I'm trying to serve the Filipino OFWs in my own little way by being present to them in that small Facebook group community every time I have the time to do that. So I answered the question of who am I trying to serve, but at the same time, there is this battle going on inside my mind and already asking me, how are you going to serve them if you are trying to serve two groups of people at the same time? So I don't know, maybe we can build on that as well if you have the same dilemma like me.
I think that the beauty of this question really is that um, you really cannot answer it in one sitting. You can't answer it within 5-10 minutes. Probably it will take a lifetime for some people to really answer this question because it's rooted really on your own experiences, on your own pains, on your own genius, and your sense of purpose. That's why it is an ongoing journey. Aina, how about you? Have you taken a stab at answering this question? And I mean, in the first place, have you actually asked this question before this session, before in your lifetime? Have you stopped to think about this question? Who are you drawn to serve?
Right. So, who am I drawn to serve? I think I've been thinking about it for some time now, and why should I serve? And that's a question I'm kind of a little revolting times, and Joanna will tell you because I'm not very religious and stuff. So I am somebody who questions dogmas a lot. So I would question a lot that why should I serve a particular community and not somebody in Africa for that matter. So I question that a lot. So to start with, I think again, our human brain, again, from neuroscience perspective, has limited capacity. So, it can serve or think in a limited way. So a lot of times, because our attention spans are so short, that your immediate needs are taken care of first, and then you start thinking about others. So right now, to me, I would say it's my sister's family. That would be the first point of contact that I have, and we have two little ones in the house. I'm kind of excited, to tell you the truth, when I interact with a 6-year-old nephew of mine. uh, he gets me thinking. He has a lot of these whys in life. Why this? Why not that? Why did we do this way? Why is this called this? So, interacting with a lot of young kids, or giving to a lot of young kids, kind of is helping you too. So that's my first point of contact, and somebody that I'm giving. But at the same time, the bigger community that I am with, I have, say, on any given day, I might have, say, 13, 14 crew members. And if I'm in the training academy, I might have, say, 16 or 18 of them. Every day, I think it's about serving people whom you're around, your immediate team to start with. So getting them to think, to me, that's me being in the present, me being mindful at the same time. How am I serving them? Yeah, one day I would like to serve the bigger community too, and I think the other bigger community is us women. We are pulled down by a lot of dogmas in life. So, what are these dogmas that bring us down? How can I serve them? And that's why even I started this website, where I think one thing that challenges people's thinking is traveling. When you travel and you meet people from different parts of the world, be it their eating habits, be it their, cultural dogmas. Why do they think the way they think, and why are they different than yours, for example? And so I'm kind of contributing that way to the bigger women community. That, hey, go travel. Don't get yourself pulled down by just because somebody said you can do this or you cannot do that. Not only to women, to anybody for that matter, right? How are you challenging that? So I'm kind of contributing that way to our women community, women overall, all around the world. So I'm writing about my travel blogs, and getting them to think. In these times, I think I'm kind of contributing more towards, again, and I was sharing with Joanna that, India and Philippines are quite similar when it comes to the amount of money people make, especially the poor community that we have here. How can we contribute? It could be giving out food to some people who don't have it, or somebody who's traveled a long distance, and with literally no aircrafts there, no trains running. In India, we have a good railway system, but none of them working. If I can help somebody go to their village, for that matter, it could be small little ways that we could contribute to each other, and on a bigger scale. I'm up for those ventilators my brother-in-law is making, for that matter. So contribute on a lot of levels, and I think, as both Joe and Andrew was saying, it's an ongoing process, Dante.
All right. Andre.
Dandy, Yan,
Yeah.
Dandy, can I build on that? And I also want to ask Andre something about this. What
Go
are
ahead.
your thoughts, Andre, when it comes to, because ever since the start, we've been identifying a single group of people that you're really drawn to serve, a slice of humanity that you are drawn to serve. But with what Aina is saying, and with the battle that is going on inside my mind as well, it seems like there is also this part of life wherein there are people who are just being in the present moment, and they just give their GPS, their genius, purpose, and service into whoever is present in front of them. They just give it to whatever opportunity is there in front of them every time they go out, every time they're in their workplace or in the community or wherever. Ain't that also a way of, going through what we call the whole manifesto journey? It's not necessarily something that you're zeroing in on just a particular group or particular slice of humanity.
I don't think it's a conscious decision. I don't know. Those of you who know me know that I don't like public speaking, even though I'm very good at it. Because to me, I'm at the very forefront of both innovations and asking questions. And because of that, I don't know the answers. I can barely keep up with the answers for myself, so I cannot answer your question about the generalities of humanity. I can certainly give you my own experience. And I think in my own experience, it's like a sharpening voice. It is never you would know your best friend or your spouse in the first 5 years versus 15 years from then. You don't know them in a different way, but it sharpens. Why? Because you're continuously in that relationship, and your focus and the back and forth sharpens you that way. So for me, giving, first of all, I want to disabuse you guys, us, from the notion, at least that my notion of giving is not charity. There's a very real sense in which when I give and when I continuously seek to give, it is because, to Aina's point, human beings are selfish, and I acknowledge that it's not really in my DNA to be generous. So when I ask this question and when I seek the answer, who do I give to? How do I constantly give? There's a very real sense in which I'm asking it on my behalf. Because you know what? These are some of the ways in which giving really comes back to me. And I'm not replaying here the platitudes we all hear that, you know, it is in giving that we receive. Yes, I mean that, but I mean that in a very peculiar way as I've experienced it, which is, I know I'm called to give to these people. I mentioned business leaders, because the more I give to them, the more I discover their pains, their needs, their wants, the more I find it in me to be able to fill those pains, those needs, those wants in a very deep way for them. And the more I'm able to do that, the more I discover what I'm good at. The more, it's like a line, a fishing line. The more the fish grabs, the more you loosen that reel, the more you figure out, hey, this reel is never ending. That's why part of our manifesto is this, well, I shouldn't say part, the ultimate part of our manifesto is the notion of transcendence. And I don't mean here transcendence as in God. I mean here transcendence within ourselves, that the more we give and the more focused our giving is, imagine this, giving like this, as opposed to giving like this. The more I find myself giving like this to the same people, deepening my understanding of their pains, the more they are drawing out in me amazing things that I never thought I had, or I never thought I was interested in giving, or I never thought I was going to find joy in giving. So let's just keep this conversation down to the last 45 days of this pandemic and the lockdown that we've all experienced, where we're trapped at home. If I use our team as an example, we have focused on a single stakeholder all this time. It's business leaders. To be very specific, it's CEOs, it's their 1 downs, it's their 2 downs, it's their 3 downs. So it's very senior management. It's people who manage a lot of other people. And going beyond that, we focused on day 1. We made it very explicit as a point of our team discernment. What about these leaders are we going to serve? And we said three things. That in this pandemic, they would have three particular pains, which have proven to be true. Every day that passes, I see it. We see it. Number one, they need to refocus. When all around them is panic, hysteria, fake news, being overwhelmed, I think the bigger, in the world of business, the bigger pandemic is the pandemic of paralysis. So in the midst of that, we want to be able to help them refocus, number one. Number two, quite a different matter, is reorganize, right? The pain of reorganizing when everything has been disrupted. Everything that was so comfortably business as usual is now business unusual. Nothing of the old sort works. How do you organize around that? And then third, again, a pain point for them, because on one hand, they're so used to moving so slow, having 10 meetings before something is actually done, versus on the other hand, in this market, you cannot afford that. You need speed and agility. So these are the three pains. So focusing on, and you all know this, focusing on the same stakeholders, on the same three pains. How many solutions have we been able to output every day in the past 40 days? I count something in the range of, as of last we counted, 9. And these 9 have gone through the spectrum of, some of them are very hardcore nuts and bolts. How do you launch? How do you spot relevance and market opportunities in this time as a point of service? And how do you launch very quickly? 2, all the way to the soul paths that you do to help people refocus, de-stress, all the way to this wholeness. So we've launched a spectrum of solutions, just focusing on the same people, on the same 3 pain points. And we are, as you all know, gearing up to launch many more solutions. And in the process, I don't know about you, but I guarantee you with myself, I have discovered in the last 3 days, again, more of my gifts, more of my genius. And beyond that, it's not just discovering what I'm good at. For example, before this, I didn't really enjoy being in front of the camera, doing these webcasts. You know, I figured nowadays, I'm halfway decent at that. And not only that, I draw fulfillment in it. I draw joy in it. Many other things, smaller things, that have led me to a much richer, deeper appreciation for who I am and what my gifts are. And that in turn cycles back to me wanting to give more, because I feel a sense of responsibility about it, not to keep it for myself. So go back to my original point. The giving we're talking about here is not entirely in the realm of just giving wantonly out of what they call agape, you know, the highest kind of love, which demands and expects nothing in return. No, I'm talking about a very, in a sense, self-serving generosity to serve, because it makes me feel better, because it makes me a better person, because it draws out more of my gifts and it helps me appreciate myself more and give meaning in life, so that I don't have to wake up to anxiety or paralysis. I just find myself happier, more full, and of more relevance to the world, when I can focus on somebody to serve and get deeper about understanding their pains.
Andre, can I just cut you a bit?
Comment on everybody else.
Yeah, I just want to ask you a follow-up question with regards to what you're saying. What you're saying is very, it's great, you know, because this is what's happening with you. But obviously, I'm sure, I wasn't there in Tally, but I'm sure that the people, you were identifying the leaders as your, the leaders are the people that you want to serve. But the rest of the team, I'm sure not everyone have identified that slice of humanity that they want to serve, or the pain that they want to serve, is a leader or the leaders, right? So which means, sorry?
Let me respond to that.
So, which means that in terms of sustainability, for me, to constantly, consistently, over and over again, share my gifts, share my GPS to others, therefore, that means that I have to be constantly giving it to that slice of humanity that's close to my heart. Then, ideally, you want those people to be with you in this shared mission. How then can that I don't think that's possible. There's no company who can exist with people just doing one shared mission and they're genuinely, sincerely admitting that that's their slice of humanity that they want to serve. So how can we deal with this? I mean, okay, it's your turn. You said that you understand. Yeah.
So, well, as you were alluding to, GPS, which is what we're talking about right now, genius, purpose, and service, the triangulation of what are my gifts, who do I give them to, for what pains, genius, purpose, service. And that's deeply personal. And that channels us like any GPS. It navigates us to destinations, to places, to turn left, to turn right, to go up, to go down. And the most important channeling of our personal GPS is shared missions. Shared missions. So that's the first way in which I want to answer you. I don't think I have one mission in life. At any given point, I have several missions. One mission is to serve business leaders. The other mission is to bring up my two boys to become leaders themselves and servants of society. I gave up the United States and the green card to do that, my wife and I, to do that, to come back to the Philippines. That is a very real mission to me that I share with my wife, and that I am sure I share with my kids' grandparents, my parents. I have a mission, I have a shared mission to also be a steward for my household staff, and so on and so forth. Many other shared missions. So when we exist as a team in Ignite, every individual that comes to us at a minimum must be connected and share this mission of serving business leaders. But that is not to the exclusion of other stakeholders that they are called to serve. I never told you, in fact, when you bring it up, you know this, I've often encouraged you to serve the OFWs, and beyond that, to figure out how we can converge, serving some of our activities, some of our solutions to some of your solutions, so that even though I do not feel called to serve your stakeholders, we can still work together. So there's many ways to do this. At the same time, I'll tell you this, and crisis situations like this should help individuals discern where they should go and where they shouldn't go, where they should be, where they shouldn't be. I remember this because for some godforsaken reason, there have been very important inflection points in my life, meaning I would graduate from school and it would be like the worst market ever. When I finished Yale in 2003, it was such a bad market that those of us who would have just mindlessly gone to consulting, to McKinsey, to Bain, or to Goldman Sachs investment banking. That's what you do when you graduate from business school. You mindlessly go to where the highest salaries are and to where all the surveys say that business school graduates should go. But in such a bad market, when business schools, when investment banks and consulting have to be more honest and discerning with where you can really be of impact. And I think we are in such a time and space right now for every one of our team. It is clear to me that this is our mission. And if that prevents you from exercising your GPS, then I would be the first one to tell you, you should go. And I'm not talking to you, of course. I'm talking to anyone confronted with this dilemma that you're posing to me. If you find that our shared mission in Ignite prevents you from giving yourself and following your GPS to serve whom you are called to serve, you should leave. You should go where you are called to serve. I believe so strongly in this. that is why I also followed up the question of how do I give sustainably? You don't want to be a flash in the pan giver. You want to give the very best of yourself to whom you are called to serve. This is my personal belief. I will not waver in this because it has proven itself true in my life. And unless and until it is proven untrue, I will not waver. And I will not ask people to do anything counter to that, which is to say, if you cannot stomach serve, does that answer your question?
Well, I guess so, but I don't know if Dandy has a follow-up question regarding that. I'm sure she has.
No, I mean, I wanna go now to Aina because Andre described this in a more organizational setup, right? Being driven by a shared mission. But let's go back to the question and drive this down to the personal level. And I want to ask Aina, do you think that everyone, regardless of their status in life, where they are right now, is capable of actually giving, serving, giving something of themselves to others, and even discerning that there is something in them that they can give to others? Do you think it's possible for everyone, or is it just for the select privileged few? What do you think, Annie?
So, Dandy, again, I'm going to get science into it. And Joe knows that I love science. So, we're, a small part of our brain called amygdala, it sits right here, is designed to connect. That helps us to be as families, as societies. So, genetically, we are designed to help each other, support each other, be it on a small scale or be it on a big scale, right? And so, to answer your question in very simple words, yes, we're genetically programmed to support each other and help each other, right? And Andre has a big vision, right? And that I was, when he was talking and I was thinking about it, that if we can get that vision of his on a world level, that if we can get world leaders, and there are times that my blood boils when I hear some of the world leaders not talk in the way they should, that if we can get the corporate world get their basics right, and yes, make money, that's what businesses are for. But at the same time, how are you serving the bigger community? So if we can get our leaders to understand these things on a deeper level, I think half our problems will be solved. So yes, we are all designed to it. In fact, I was thinking about a recent book that I read. It's by the father of positive psychology called Martin Seligman. He has written some very interesting books on happiness and positive psychology, but he's written a recent book that I was reading, and he's now started putting things into habits which people can develop to give. So it could be being thankful for 5 things in a day. It could be big, it could be small. So we could start on a personal level with such things, and then we can go on be Mother Teresa, or on a corporate level where we get our leaders to think more deeply. Yes, make that money, be $1 billion or $1 trillion company, not a problem. But that corporate consciousness has to increase.
Okay, Joanna.
What about you, Dandy? You have any insights regarding this?
Yes, I am still in my journey towards really figuring out who I want to serve. And I really want to start with being clear about what can I give of myself in the first place. Because I cannot serve people with something that I am not capable of giving them, right? And it really, it prevents it from being sustainable, like what Andre said, like what Andre mentioned. It's going to be a flash in the pan if I just, try to pinpoint someone that I think I can help, but then my genius doesn't lie within that. It won't be sustainable. So I am still in my journey in finding out really what of myself I can give. And it's not just about what I am good at. It is more about what in me has proven in my life to have actually made situations better. So it is about reflecting back in my life and moving forward, being cognizant of that. I think that this, so to answer your question, I am in the process of still, I, I'm still on level one, level two. If this question is on level three, I'm still in level one, level two, so that I can answer this question much better. Yeah.
So if I can jump in another variant of the question we asked to Dandy's point, no? We asked something along the lines of, what is it that is good in me? And I guess when we wrote this question, it was again very much in reference to the global pandemic and how life had changed so vastly and so deeply in only a few weeks for all of us. I think we would all agree with that, right? Life as we know it has changed so drastically. And the question went something like, what is it in me that is good in me that no matter what happens to the world will allow me to constantly still be a force for good? And I think that's what Dandy is talking about. It's not just what she's good at, but what she can be, what she's good at that allows her to, in any situation, when she comes in, she becomes a force for good. And that is what we refer to as genius. And it is so important as the brother or sister of service, because to Dandy's point, you cannot give, you cannot serve, and you cannot give to somebody what you don't have. So they are kind of like a tug of, as we call it, a tug of love. They pull each other in that they reveal each other. And this is precisely what I'm saying you is the selfish aspect of giving. When I give to others, I learn more about myself. I appreciate more of myself. And because I find what is good in me, I want to give more. It becomes a virtuous cycle. Now, I want to go back to what Aina was saying, and I will quote Aina. I wrote it down. I think Aina said, if we can get our leaders to serve more deeply, we would solve half the problems of the world. You said that. Yes? I disagree. I think we would serve, I think we would solve 90% of the problems of the world. Do you guys understand how much power, wealth, and resources? And when I say power, wealth, and resources, just think about the employee base and the kind of talent that works for these business leaders. We would solve many of the world's problems. So this is why, and I know I am equipped to help these people come to a higher level and a deeper level of their place in the world. And this is why in one of these speak pads, I was able to, the next morning, I was able to come to a clearer understanding of the pain of business leaders that I wanted to fill. 3 words: the poverty of the rich. The poverty of the rich. The poverty of the rich. So many rich people, billionaires, immersed in the poverty of not knowing what it is that they can give. And that is a pain that I feel. That is a pain that I obsess about. And as you can see, I can enunciate myself well enough. And for as long as I am alive, I am going to channel my gifts and the people and the gifts of the people who are similarly convergent in this problem to solve this problem. Because, Joanna, the pains of the OFWs that you are brokenhearted about, the pains of poverty, unless we solve the poverty of the rich, we are going to have an impossible time solving the poverty of the poor. Aina said that if we can get the rich people, the corporate leaders, to serve in a deeper way, we would solve half the problems of the world. for the record, I disagree. I believe we would solve 90% of the problems of the world. Until and unless we solve the poverty of the rich, we will not solve the poverty of the poor. So I am just thinking very, very methodically about this. As you can see, there is nothing that will change my mind about this. Go ahead.
Go, Aina.
So Andy, more than 50% is 90%, right? So the other thing that is of concern to me, and I'm somebody who's too much into world politics. So what's also happening during this pandemic times is the control of governments, and pretty much all around the world, that's the other thing that is happening. Yes, corporations are becoming bigger than governments. I agree. Probably if Apple were a country, would be top 10 richest countries in the world, right? So I get all of that, but what I'm trying to say is also this synergy that has to happen between corporations and governments. Yes, corporations can influence the governments of pretty much every country around the world. But we also have to be mindful of that. What's of concern to me right now is how these governments are literally controlling their own people. So yes, I see your vision and I agree. But on a deeper level, sadly to say, it's a lot also about individuals trying to show off how important I am, or how can I become more famous, excluding some of the Bill Gates types. So yeah, that's another concern that I have when it comes to giving.
So I mean, that's precisely what I would consider, that I would throw that into the bucket of poverty of the rich. When you actually can give substantially, would rather give in order to gain more ambition, fame, wealth. That to me is poverty. As for governments, I also know what I'm not good at, and I have not figured out how to talk to government. I have no patience that way. So don't talk to me about the government, please.
Right.
Okay, so we're already
Yeah, go
5
ahead.
minutes past our time. But 60 minutes, I think, is really not enough for this session. But at this point, I just want to open it up for maybe there's some people in the audience who might want to chime in. Just, I don't know. I didn't check any. It was Dick Dandy. You have anything, like anybody whispered a question to you or something?
They've been awfully silent today somehow. I think we're engaged in
I'm gonna call in some people. I'm gonna call in some people. Okay. This is an honest question. So I know the personal trajectories of some of us, and I want to ask, for example, Miguel. And I did warn Miguel that I was going to call him.
Yeah.
Miguel, you
Yes,
there?
Andre.
Miguel Arenas. You've had quite an interesting journey where we brought you into Ignite because of your Stanford pedigree and your IBO pedigree, and you're having worked very deeply in the innovation space, working with all the top companies in the Philippines. And so we brought you in for that aspect of our mission that really had to do with the hardcore nuts and bolts of business and getting business leaders to adopt human-centered design thinking, to be more innovative and all that. So we grant that. At the same time, I've always been, to be honest, wary. Wary might be the word, no? Of how much you bought into this whole notion of genius, purpose, and service. That was always the fundamental roots of Ignite. And I think it's fair to say that you came in with a fair degree of skepticism. I don't know, you might have gotten annoyed every time we would bring up this topic or spend meetings and countless hours on the topic of GPS. But I wonder, and I ask you in particular because you approach this from more expansive, more objective sense of skepticism and maybe some cynicism. And I want to ask you honestly, candidly, how has all this sensing of GPS evolved for you or not? Maybe you're still the skeptic you are. What are your thoughts? And how have you experienced this personally for yourself? If that's a fair question.
Yeah, well, actually, it wasn't really skepticism in my end. It's really, I initially, no, actually, I mean, it made sense to me after, you know, and you know this, my constant frustration with having people work on innovation projects, but just seem like they're just not connected to it. Seems like it's very routine. Well, not even routine, but it seems like they're just trying to comply. And like I remember one of the things that you said once during our like our many talks or like meetings. You know, something about simply just caring about the problem. So that's something that I really realized being in Ignite, and the reality is that if you don't get people to a point of caring for that problem, then no matter what type of framework toolkit that you give them, they're not gonna I don't want to use such a cliche term, but grit through it. But like they're not gonna fight for it. They're not gonna truly want to see it through. And it's easy to teach the toolkits, especially with what I've been doing in the last 5 years. But if like foundationally you don't care about what you're working on, you're working on, then it's not gonna matter. Or even the stuff that you do churn out won't be probably the best that it could have been. So I think that's something that we would say.
Miguel, let me jump in. Let me jump in with a follow-up question. So what you're referring to as it's easy to teach the toolkits, but harder to get people into the foundational elements. In Ignite Speak, we say the how is easy or easier. The why is the difficult part, right? So you said that I said something about caring about the problem. Again, that's not what I said. I said something stronger. Fall in love with the problem. That's what we want people to fall in love with the problem. In that context, Miguel, in the context of the question today, I want to ask you, honestly, have you fallen more deeply in love with the people that we are serving? And has that depth of love, how has that depth of love resulted in caring more? Could you talk to us about this? And let's turn this into a little bit more practical. So you've always been in the market to serve innovators and to serve organizations that want to innovate. Behind that is a stakeholder. Tell me how your relationship and your sense of passion and compassion for that stakeholder has evolved or deepened in just the 5 or so months that you've been with us.
Well, if there's anything, it's really that I don't want to just actually, I'd rather not teach them toolkits, but really try and really bring them at a level, that hey, like maybe, and I'll say this from my point of view also, hey, maybe we should be caring more about, we should find ways to fall, in the same way that when you try to get to know your stakeholder, you do want to fall in love with your stakeholder as well. But like in order, for you to fall in love with the problem, we do need to dig deeper into why we do all these things. And that's why all these conversations, I mean, before I'd stop my conversation probably from customer to human. That would be me. But like now, it's really changed in the sense that you do need to understand. I mean, if it's not clear to you, or at least at this point in your life, if it's not clear to you why you're doing these things, then it's just not gonna work. So in my case, teaching the why has become more important. Well, not even teaching, but maybe helping them anchor on that why. I I honestly can't teach it. I mean, I wouldn't know where to take it. I mean, I obviously um, have difficulty in like having like deeper conversations around things, but like um, the 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 importance of really understanding why you do that's something that's very clear to me now in terms of like in order for people to innovate, it's something that we have to first, I don't want to say fix, but really pay attention to. And that's probably the thing that's changed a lot already with over the last, actually it's 7 months or 6 months. So, and the thing with,
All right, thanks, Miguel.
and the
Yeah,
thing
go ahead.
with, like we talk about the how and the what's. Okay, fine. That's something that's more tangible. That's easier to teach. But like teaching the why is actually very sexy. It just seems like nobody wants to do it, or nobody really understands how they're gonna engage that as well, or understand it. I mean, honestly, I'm still figuring it out, and it's probably just been the past 2 3 months that it's reached that way for me, just trying to uh, I get a better grasp of the importance of GPS and NRYs.
The last thing I would pack you away with, Miguel, and I'm not going to ask you to answer this question unless you insist, but it's the same question I would pack everybody away with. How has all this deepening realization, this falling more deeply in love with who we're serving, honestly, ask yourself, how has it drawn more out of you about your own sense of your own gifts? Because in my own experience, it has been that virtuous cycle. The more you serve, the more you are attuned and connected to the pains of who you serve, the more you discover your gifts. It never stops. And this is what we refer to as transcendence. And I'd like you guys to consider how that has been true for yourselves. And if it hasn't, then you have a lot to think about. Are you in the right place? Are you serving who you're called, etc.?
Honestly, Andre, for me, it's been just one big prototype. I'm just testing it, trying it, and just no. Honestly, I mean, like, I've you kind of have to see where it makes sense, for me, and and with what I want to happen. So just as I treat everything, as a prototype. That's exactly what I'm doing with this now, and it keeps it dynamic and ever evolving in my case, which is how I like it.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Miguel, I'm not gonna let you go. I'm gonna wrap this session up by asking one final question, and at the same time asking for the panel to give the last few words. But at the same time, I want to ask you the same question, based on what you've been sharing with us. No, after all what you heard in our discussion and what you just said, how would you answer the questions that we posted earlier? How would you ask that question differently so that it will be easier for people to grasp the essence of this topic of enduring generosity, this constant giving that we're talking about?
The to whom can I give?
Yes, to whom can I
Question.
give? To whom can I give deeply? To whom am I compelled to give? And in terms of that sustainability essence of it.
Oh wow. Okay.
I'll circle back to you because I know that you're good in asking questions. You're really good in
Yeah.
asking questions, right? So that's why, because I want to ground this in such a way that people can answer this question in such a way that they will really understand what the question is. Because sometimes we throw questions, and it's the question that matters, right? For you to get the. I learned that from you, diba? I learned that from you. How can we do that? So I'm gonna go to we'll start probably first with, I don't know. Aina, you have any way of answering this question? With another question of how do you answer this question differently? How do you pose this question differently so that it'll be easier for people to grasp it?
So wait, I'm sorry. Is the premise? You seem to be insinuating a premise, Joanna, that the question is hard to understand.
No, it's not.
I mean, first we need to. But you're creating a whole topic out of asking a different question, which means you're proposing that it's a difficult question to understand.
No, where I'm coming from is that in terms of the process of thinking that each one of us went through, how can you say it differently? It's more of the process, right? Okay.
I think more to Joanna's point, what questions can you ask yourself to answer this question? And maybe to
Yeah.
give more perspective to this, I'll answer first now. How do I answer the question of who I am compelled to give to and serve? Perhaps I want to ask myself first, what do I mean to people? What do I mean to people around me? To the people that probably I have helped one way or another. What do they mean to me? Sometimes we are not cognizant of how others see us. Sometimes we're trapped in this bubble of ourselves that we have a certain way of thinking about what we're good at, who we are, how we're able to help others. But probably one thing to ask ourselves is, how do other people see us in the first place? Maybe that will help us answer this question in terms of making us know ourselves better. And maybe probably in the process we can discover, that's something that I'm actually able to offer people without me knowing. And probably you can start from there. You can start from there. After knowing that, then you can dive into answering this question of who am I to serve, who can I give to, um, who can I give enduring generosity to forward. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I think that is how I can process this question to answer this question. How about you, Aina? What do you think?
I would say, yeah, great way of thinking about it. Know yourself first before you start serving others. But at the same time, Andre, great questions to answer. And if one is not thinking deeply, your instant answers are me, myself, my immediate family. Quick, non, prefrontal cortex thinking types is those kind of answers. But then, thinking more on a deeper level, I'm not just giving it to a charity today, but how can I continuously serve a particular community or expand or even, change the kind of communities I'm giving to. So I would say combine the two. Combine your questions, combine Andrew's questions, and keep thinking on a constant basis. Not think today because we are in a situation like this, but on and off. Kind of nudge ourselves, nudge people around us too, that we keep this cycle going.
Thank you, Aina. With that, do you have any last few words to add on to that answer? We're going to be wrapping this up as well.
Me? Is it my turn?
Okay, go ahead, Andre. Go ahead. I think Aina didn't hear me. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm smiling a little bit because if you notice, we refer to this question as life's most important conversations. And in fact, the funny thing with these questions is we have something in Ignite that is more along the innovation landscape, where we say, you ask not in order to get answers. You ask in order to actually get more questions. That is the growth mindset. That is, you ask not to get the answer, you ask in order to discover more questions. And that is what Dandy did. And that is in fact why this question is one out of about 15 questions of this sort that we ask. Because when some people find a dead end here, they will find a purpose here. So this is actually why there are 12 weeks of this PeakPad, because there are 12 questions. Each week we focus on one question, but in essence, that question is another door into the same universe that we are trying to immerse ourselves in, which is GPS. So if you're looking for more questions, I think the answer is like Dandy, let's throw in more questions there. But at the same time, let's be fair to ourselves. This is not like the singular question we ask. We all know there is a body of questions there, and that this is what is. And I think the notion there is that if you are honest and if you are brave about these questions will elicit more questions. And that's the beauty of it. It always drives you deeper. This is not about clarity. This is about dancing to the rhythm of life. And if you're dancing to the rhythm of life, you will ask more and more questions. And that's the beauty of it. Enduring generosity is about enduring questions, not enduring answers, enduring questions.
That's what makes lives really more interesting, right? Asking more and more and more questions all the time. So I'm going to go back to Miguel and ask him what his question will be. Miguel, are you ready? I didn't forget about you.
Well, I'll just constantly be asking that question because I'll be constantly trying to figure it out.
So you're gonna just keep on repeating that question.
It's a prototype.
Okay, I'll take that. Thank you, Miguel. Well, with me, just to end this session, what's going on inside my head when Miguel and Andre were talking, I was like thinking, do we really fall in love with a problem? And then I was thinking, it's not really falling in love. When you fall in love with a problem, you have to fall in love with when you fall in love with a problem or pain, you fall in love also with the person or the people who's experiencing that pain. But then again, I asked myself, is it really falling in love with the pain and the problem? Asking myself again, is it about the impact? So for this to be sustainable, I was asking myself, I think I should fall in love with the impact in terms of the vision that I have in terms of how I can make the lives of these people better. So like what you said, it's a constant questioning of all these things, these insights that are coming in. Talagang one question after the other, there's no way around it. And it's a lifelong process. With that, we'll just, keep igniting ourselves, igniting other people by asking that.
Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay. You have some more
Sorry,
to say?
Joanna.
Okay.
Sorry. I cannot allow this to end on this note. Because, you cannot fall because the impact changes. The impact that we are having right now and the gifts, the genius, so to speak, that we are bringing forth from ourselves was very different from what it was even 4 or 5 weeks ago. We had a different vision of impact. The problem remains. So I think you fall in love with the people. You follow them, you follow their problems, you follow their pains, but precisely you are not able to innovate if you fall in love with answers. That's where innovation gets stuck, right? And it leads us back to when we ask ourselves these questions. Who am I going to serve? What are my gifts? What are the pains? What do I always remind the team? We're not here to hold hands and figure out the truth about this period. We're here to figure out the truth so we can channel it towards mission, towards innovation, towards impact, right? But our fundamental loyalty is to the problem and to the people who own that problem, not to our answers to their problems. So the answers change. Technology solutions will change. I would like to bring them in, but I'm still in love with business leaders. I'm still in love with their ability to focus, to organize, and to bang things out quickly. The answers to that change, and I have to keep myself open to those answers. That's the best way I can deliver on love and service. So I'm sorry, I had to
Well, it's a question that I said, right? It's a continuous question. Do we fall in love to whatever? So, are you good with your final words, Andre? Aina, I just want to say thank you so much for a very short notice that you joined us, and it's really a wonderful conversation having this conversation with you. We want to say goodbye from Bangalore to
Yeah.
you.
A big thanks to all of you, Andre, Dandy, and Joe especially, and everybody else there. Great talking to all of you. Thank you for all the insights and sharpening my thinking too. Yeah, great being here, guys. Yeah, that's all I'd like to say. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Aina.
Aina, thank you so much. You're welcome to join us every week.
Definitely.
I would like to hear more about all the
Amygdala.
the neuro stuff that you bring in.
Absolutely, Andre. Yeah, I love the way you all think too.
I love your energy too. So all the best. Stay strong. Stay safe. Don't hug anybody. I was going to ask you to hug Bangalore.
Yep. I haven't stepped out of my house for a long time.
Okay. So this ends our Peak Pad episode 4 of 12 weeks peak performance. And we'll see you again next week, next Friday. For our next webcast, it's going to be on Tuesday, I guess. Another CEO challenge, now with BPOs, right? That will be on, I think, I think this is the wrong one. No, Tuesday, 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. We'll catch you then. Thank you again for joining us, and have a great weekend, everyone. Joanna signing off from PeakPad. Thank you, Andre.
Take care.
Thank you, Dandy,
Joanna.
and everyone who's here.
Thank you,
Thank you, Miguel. Miguel, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Take care,
Bye,
guys.
Thank
Aina.
you.
Catch you later, Aina.
See ya, Joe. Take care.